Hello everyone, Giltar here with a model kit review. This time we're looking at the 1:72 scale Rayleonard 3 aaliyah. This will be a two-part review. In part 1 here I'll cover the model kit details, the accessories and articulation, and then in part 2 I'll go over my pros and cons of the model and my final thoughts. Now this is a model by Kotobukiya. It's through their Armored Core Variable Infinity line of models. The basic premise is that you can switch weapons and body parts to make your own customized mecha. That follows the premise of the gameplay in the Armored Core series of games, where you can buy and upgrade different parts of your Armored Core mech, and just throughout the game, I guess your mech evolves. To be honest, I haven't played the games in years. I think I might have played Armored Core 2 a long time ago, when I was a kid, maybe. So I don't know much about the background fiction of the games these days, but I believe the aaliyah here comes from Armored Core 4. Now this is a model that came out in June of 2007, so it's about 2.5 years old. It retails normally around 3,800 yen, so we're looking at $40 American. I bought this for about $30 through HobbyLink Japan, through one of their sales a few months ago. Now, the variable infinity concept sounds pretty cool. I don't know if it's unique in that you can sort of do that with other model kit lines like the high grade and master grade, and I assume perfect grade model kit parts of the Gundam models through Bandai. But with that idea, the only problem is that different model kits might have specifically designed joint connectors, for example, sockets and pegs and such, so that you can't always switch parts. I'm thinking the Armored Core Variable Infinity line might make a standardized set of parts for the limbs, so that you can swap out limbs with no problem between any of the model kits in this particular lineup. I don't know that for a fact, just because I don't have anything more than the aaliyah. This is my one and only Armored Core kit at this time, and I couldn't find any more information about the Variable Infinity design details online. It's really hard finding reviews of the Armored Core model kits. Even here on YouTube, there's only a few users that I'm aware of that contribute content that involve Armored Core model kits. zversus is one. He's done several great reviews on various Armored Core model kits. There's two other people I've recently discovered. One is Kawapen2, and he's done some videos on the aaliyah. I think he's done some on the Hogire and the White Glint. The Hogire and White Glint are really nice looking models. I'd like to get them both. The Hogire is easier to find, so I'll probably buy that first. The White Glint, though, is harder to find, but it's a really nice looking design. And then the second other person that has done some content involving Armored Core is Cypher100, and I believe he's done a video on the aaliyah and another video on the aaliyah where he mentioned some of the painting he's done for it, which looks really nice. And he also mentioned some issues with the design of the model kit. So I'll link those three user accounts in the description of this video. Now, in terms of this model's I guess presentation, I would say it gets top marks. I mean, right behind it, I'll move the model out of the way. Right behind it is the box, which is pretty standard. I mean, you got your basic cover art, the side sort of art, and details and data. Here's obviously all the warnings and all the other stuff. So it's pretty basic. I mean, but it just looks very nice. I like the way the photography is handled. It's a dark background with this dark Armored Core mech, and then you have highlights by the whatever lighting they use, and you have the gold here and the glowing red. Now, unfortunately, that must be some sort of mod, because the model kit itself just comes with plain black plastic there. So they must have put an LED or something in that, or maybe use Photoshop to sort of jazz it up. I don't know, but it's too bad you don't get a clear piece of red plastic to put there. However, I have seen some other Armored Core model kits where they do use clear plastic for head windows or sensors. So looking forward to get one of those at some point. Now here's the instruction manual. And here's the order form for the different runners, the parts, so that if you miss or break some parts, basically fill this out, send it to Kotobukiya, and they'll send you the parts back. It's pretty neat. Unfortunately, unless you speak and read and write Japanese, then you can't really use this. But it's not too expensive. I mean, the runner cost goes from 100 yen to about 600. So one or two runners that you need replacing, not a big deal. The instruction book itself is very nice. It really reminds me of like a car brochure. The whole instruction manual is made out of like a magazine quality print. Great photography throughout. Like this is all the part details, some background information, I guess. And here, instructions. One thing to look out for, I'll point it out, is this right here. It's probably not focusing well, but it's basically, I believe, the symbol for cement or glue, so that there are parts of the model that you do need to cement in. Not very many, but just be aware there are a few parts here you have to look out for. The middle part of the instruction manual shows sort of like a spread of the front and back of the aaliyah and their weapons and some like a height chart. And finally, at the end, another sort of bunch of photography of the model. And on the back there's a color chart, so you can find the percentages of different paint ratios to mix to get this appearance. It's all really great presentation for the instruction manual and the box. I really like that. It definitely makes you feel like what you've paid for is at least partly worth it. Now, in terms of accessories, let's go for the guns first. So I'll take off the hands. And this first gun is kind of like a machine gun looking weapon, very blocky, excellent detailing on it. It comes in sort of a light bluish gray plastic, very flat in color. You don't need to paint it, but I would recommend doing so at some point with at least like a metallic type of color or whatever you want, but it's asking to be at least panel lined. Very nice looking. And the second gun here, I'll just take off my hand, is sort of more of a beam gun, energy gun looking weapon. The barrel's at the top, and this under part I think is maybe a bayonet or a stabbing type weapon, because I don't know why you would want this big chunk of material here for no other reason, because I don't believe that's a clip. I think down here is like the energy clip. And actually it's pretty loose. It goes together well, but there's a lot of parts that make up this gun. So yeah, you might want to glue it together at some point, because it is, for at least my gun here is pretty loose. Someone else might have a tighter fit. And finally we have this sort of back shoulder mounted cannon. Right now it's in its sort of stored compact mode, but if you flip it up and then just unhinge it here and put out the cannon, you've got this long cannon here for basically blowing something up from a great distance, I assume. So that's pretty neat too. And it's on a peg that goes into a circular port at the back here. So there's another one here so that you can put another weapon at some point if you want. Articulation is pretty basic. Unfortunately, this model looks great, but you can't do that much with it. I mean, the arms themselves do allow full 360-degree rotation, but you have to be careful about moving the parts around so you don't snag it on the sort of a hip armor here. And it's pretty tight in terms of the joint. I believe it's on a ball joint. It's a polycap ball joint. The legs can go pretty far forward. And actually, I'm going to move this back skirt piece because it's really loose. That's something else you have to look out for when you move the model around. But the leg itself can move only about this far forward and this far back. So a good range of movement, but there's a lot of things that get in the way, unfortunately. The knees themselves don't move a lot. It moves this far forward, this far back. I mean, really minimal amount of movement for the legs. The head itself can turn about this far and this far, and it goes up and down a little bit, so it's pretty limited, partly due to just the collar armor. The waist does allow full rotation, but I won't do it just because you really have to get things out of the way to do it well. The side hip armor and thrusters, I guess, have full rotational ability, but because they're so long, they tend to bump into things, so I just position in one spot and leave them be. And I believe that's it. I mean, the feet can move as well, but they're really finicky. They go about this far back and forward, swivel side to side slightly, but not that much, unfortunately. So it is a pretty minimal amount of articulation for the model kit. So that concludes part 1 of the review. I'll be back in part 2 with some pros and cons and some final thoughts. Thanks for watching.